Welcome to the Bud Rebel Show. This is a podcast like no other. We have really exciting guests every segment. I bring up some of the most unusual, unique business ideas that you'll hear nowhere else. That will either make you money, lose you money, but will definitely have you thinking. We also have current topics we're going on, and we have ways to make money even in today's times. But so to get our show running, I have a very special guest. His name is Richiebeans. Welcome, Richie.
Hello, bud.
Nice to have you on the show. Richie has a unique position he does. Why don't you give us a little background about what work you do?
I am in all stages of media post-production, mainly video editing and animation, with also working knowledge of VFX compositing, animation, and sound design.
So, sounds very technical. When did you get started in that type of work?
Full on, it began to form itself like all after high school. Mainly it was pretty much all video editing, and I'm also a bassist of 12 years with perfect pitch and vocalist, and that lent itself to sound engineering as well. Go ahead.
That's fine. Now, so you started in high school. There's like a program that you got involved in, or how did you get involved in this whole area?
Well, first of all, I've been entrenched in editing programs since I was in 6th grade, technically, starting with iMovie. I used to make these homemade videos of my pet ball python, Petunia. I'd make her like an...
Excuse me, pet python? You have a python as your pet?
14 years old, that large.
So you and your python are close, but not too close, I hope.
We share the same bedroom.
Yeah, and the python is just nice, not like a... You can get like too tight with each other, if you know what I mean.
She is a constrictor.
So that could be a little bit of trouble. So you guys, how do you know if the python, I know I'm going in a different direction, but how do you know if the python likes you? If I come to a room, does the python act differently to you than it would act to me? Or how does that happen?
They treat humans like trees, as long as you're not disrupting them while they're in feeding mode.
Oh.
Then you get into trouble.
So the key is to make sure you feed them. What do you feed your python, by the way?
Defrosted mice.
Defrosted mice.
Never live.
Okay, and how many mice a day do the python have to eat?
A day? It's only one every 3 or 4 or 5 months.
Oh, okay, good. And then you make sure you give the python the food, because otherwise if it gets hungry, it can eat other things.
They can survive more than 9 months without, well, safe to say 7 to 8 months without food, without feeding.
I know we're going in a different direction.
As they grow up. And
how did you come up with, guys? And some people have dogs and cats and other things. How did you decide you wanted a python as a pet?
It was such a, first I started with a bearded dragon named Larry.
Larry is his name?
Yes, he passed in 2011.
Sorry about that.
But always, yeah, thank you. I would always go to the Westchester Reptile Exposition, and just what I saw in front of me was pretty intriguing and eye-catching. And I would read the books. I would just watch videos on, Google Video. I would just go on Google Video and remember being amazed by snake feeding videos. Like, this is like, we're talking 2006, 2007, so that coinciding with Club Penguin, coinciding with Happy Tree Friends, it all created like a aesthetic of that period.
So this python that you have, when you come home, I guess, what do you do with a python? Do you just like let it roll over? What is a python? How does it, as a pet, what does it do? Does it just crawl over? What is it? How does it like, life with a python? Let me know a little bit about that. You wake up in the morning.
If I'm working on something, she could just go up on my neck and stay there. She's been on Zooms. There's this one semi-famous Zoom room called Edit Party, which was started by another viral video creator named Cash Bunny, and Petunia and my dog, my Cavapoo Marley, have made it in a few of her stories.
Wait, so you have a python and a dog?
Yes.
And they get along okay?
Yes.
No.
I live in Mahwah, New Jersey, so we kind of have a magical forest of sorts. I don't know if you remember a few years back, hearing about the story of the woman who was attacked by a coyote. That was my mother.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy!
Yep,
wow,
that was August 2019.
That happened, and you were at your house. Where did that happen?
In my neighborhood.
There was a coyote in the neighborhood?
She fought off with a Louisville slugger.
Wow.
Like the South Brooklynite she is.
That's crazy. And so this coyote, how badly did your mother get attacked by the coyote?
I believe she got 30 rabies shots.
I mean, that's I didn't know, Richie, when I got to interview today, that you have so much content that I could probably have 3 podcasts on. I mean, just even your mother by the story. I don't know if people survive coyote. I mean, a coyote attack can be deadly. I mean, that's crazy. What is that night this happens and stuff like that?
Broad daylight.
And all of a sudden that she was I guess the coyote had rabies, I guess.
That was never confirmed, but she got the shots.
So she was able to. She was outside, walking outside. All of a sudden, a coyote attacks you. You don't have a bat with you normally.
Well, we do now. So when I take my cavapoo out to take a piss, I'm like, all right. The slugger stays at the front door.
But I mean, initially,
it's a fixture in our house.
No, I know that. But initially, when your mother got attacked by the coyote, right? She wasn't ready for that. How did she grab a bat and?
It was stalking. This was in August, so it was stalking her. It was feeding, and then when she turned her back, she didn't think anything of it. And then when she turned back around, it was on its hind legs on the hunt. She realized.
But so you said she defended herself with a baseball bat, but the baseball bat, she didn't know that she was ready for this, I guess, in some way, because she had the baseball bat ready for it?
No, the baseball bat was in a bin of toys in our neighbor's open garage bay.
So she ran to the neighbor's house.
Yeah, she knew what to do.
Wow.
And she just fended it off.
Well, and I guess she had to go to the hospital and stuff like that.
Yes, at the one in Suffern.
And this doesn't happen that often. I never heard about coyote attacks too much.
No.
Wow, that put a whole perspective on this.
That's why it's always important to have good connection to emergency services.
Yeah, I mean, and then she had to go to the hospital and everything. I'm sorry to hear about that. That's a really unbelievable story.
Yeah, you took it from the inside of my bedroom to the pet count to the species population to Mawa to this.
It's just really, you have a really interesting story. So you do post-production for full-length feature films or shorts or music videos? What is it the work done for?
The bulk has been mainly for documentaries and short films and online media. There was one point where I was doing premium real estate property tours in the Hamptons and in New York City. That was on-site PA work and in-house editing. So
how do you get jobs initially? If someone wants to get into this business that you're in, how do they get into it?
For the best security, it's all referrals. I mean, you can apply to as many leads as you want, but it all comes down to having relationships and being recommended.
Right. And the normal post-production work, how long does it take? Let's say I said to you, you said you do like animation stuff now, if I'm correct. You said you do some of it.
Yes, I did.
Animation.
I've done animation work for promotionals for online. One of which was for your son's single promotion, for National Geographic documentaries for PBS, for student thesis films back at School of Visual Arts.
And so, like the average video and the average post production work, what's the time frame that you have to do that takes to do some normal work that you do? If I get a normal job, let's say it's a short, how long does it normally take to do the whole post production in a short film?
They're different. Yeah, they're different. Obviously, different areas.
Right.
So if you're talking about animation that could encompass visual effects, that could range from an entire day on one shot to maybe a week on just one shot. It depends on the labor load. And
so when you get paid, if you don't mind, you get paid per job, or you get paid after it's done, or how does that work when it comes to this type of work?
So you maintain the work from the client. I much prefer an hourly rate, but if it's in everyone's best interest, the client always tries to go for flat rates, and then you negotiate for an applicable flat rate.
Yeah, because I can imagine
one that makes sense.
Because I can imagine sometimes you have a flat rate based on your hours, that sometimes it runs a lot longer, and I guess they can want to edit it separately, right? If they don't like it, they can tell you to do it over again or something as well.
Yeah, and on larger scale, on like motion picture productions, fixed bidding tends to be a problem. Like if you look at the project like the movie Cats, I mean this is indicative of the issue of the VFX industry. The film production studios have very little idea what the VFX process is like. I remember the director of Cats, Tom Hooper, he had no idea that previs animations were just draft versions of characters, and he kept requesting for fully rendered scenes of like all characters in full fur simulation and full compositing, and that stuff takes time. And when you have a fixed bid before people find out about that, people don't get paid and they lose money.
Right, and I mean,
Cats
was panned by many of the audiences.
I know. I watched it in an empty theater.
Yeah, that was a post-production total collapse. I mean, I think that people there was a lot of money put in that.
Well, calling it a post-production collapse is inaccurate. Like the quality of the visual effects is completely fine, but this has been an issue of the film industry for the last 25 years. I mean, Shrek was a success. The bulk of DreamWorks films like Madagascar and Kung Fu Panda were a success. There was, there was soul in these projects. SpongeBob was a success. I can give many more examples. Things like Son of the Mask and Cat in the Hat are like surrealist relics of their time in a Lynchian sort of way.
Do you feel like there's too much CGI going on and not enough of the old-fashioned costumes? And you do all that CGI stuff as well? Is that something you also work on?
I've delved in Maya, Nuke, and Cinema 4D and Blender.
Right.
Like Blender mainly for history documentaries.
And do you feel like it's getting too much and people losing it? I find the CGI to be sometimes it goes on well, but sometimes I think it just overpowers the whole story. I mean, it just becomes too much. What's your thought on that?
I don't think we're in a period where it's saturated anymore. I think a lot of VFX in the last 5 to 6 to 7 years has been invisible effects, meaning major cleanup jobs, like replacing walls to the point where the viewer doesn't even know it's visual effects. That's the new definition of doing a good job.
Right.
In Marvel films, it's a lot more obvious, and it's more of a forefront stage for the commercial artists involved.
Now, I'm getting a little thirsty. You take a break. This is not sponsored. No one's sponsored us yet. But we have. Which drink would you like to try? Would you like to try one? Or I'll make you choose which one would like to try.
Basil versus orange ginger.
But this is actually supposedly good for your brain.
I like cherry.
This is supposedly brain focused.
Oh, is it Omega?
And this is just what?
Is that Omega?
I don't know what's in this drink.
The mushroom elixir sounds pretty enticing.
Want to try that? Okay, let's open this up. We'll have a little bit each. In case we're thirsty. I hope no one spits it up. We'll find out. So far, all my drinks have been very successful. But this is for my finger. You're right. This is right. I got it. It's good to have a little bit of a nail.
Yep, I bite mine, so
I'm going to discuss, Richiebeans, one of my business ideas. I had a long time. As I say to everyone out there, these ideas... Chin, thank you. These ideas will either make you money, lose you money, but as we say, or will make you think. I can't believe this idea hasn't come out. This is very strange to me because it seems so basic, and I feel like it seems so simple to me. A celebrity alarm clock. Being woken up by, let's say, a Tom Cruise or maybe a Richiebeans. Whatever celebrity you want wakes you up with a little message. What do you think about that idea?
Well, that sounds just as interesting as one I've had all my life, which is a freezable microwave.
Freezable microwave?
Basically the opposite of a microwave. You instead of immediate defrosting or reheating, it's just immediate
freezing.
Yeah.
And what would you do if you were on camping or something? What would you use that for? What would you need that right away for? Like ices? You want to make immediate ices or something like that?
Yeah, anything you need to be cold below zero.
It's never been done.
I don't think so.
This has never been done also on this podcast. No one else has come up with an idea on this podcast. Well, this is going the opposite way, Richie.
I should tell my good friend James Pisano, who edited the you remember the Billy Mays infomercials back in the day, OxyClean, the Snuggie, Aqua Globes.
Sure.
That whole direct response industry was a big thing in the 2000s.
So do you know if this could be made? A microwave, an instant freezer.
It's certainly pitchable.
It's interesting made. I think mine's easy, a celebrity alarm clock, because we just get the celebrities to be able to wake you up in the morning. I don't think you're a very technical person. That could be made, correct? There's no.
I could make you sound bits in Premiere less than 20 minutes.
I mean, if that alarm clock would wake up my son,
would it be an actual alarm? Would it be an actual viable clock?
It would be a clock, and then wake up with somebody's voice, again, Tom Cruise, any of the big names. I don't know why Tom Cruise in my head. Maybe a guy from Rush. Maybe even Frank Zappa, which we can get into now a little bit. I know you're big. Imagine Frank Zappa if he had. I know he passed away, but he must have said he could have said some crazy thing in the morning and wake you up to Frank Zappa to screaming something or even singing a song. But each celebrity would be able to wake you up in the morning, and he could change it. If you get tired of one celebrity, you can make it somebody else.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah, it could be anything like that. Anybody wants to invent that with me? Let me know.
Matt Sosa.
Now, let me ask you a question about that because we got into a topic that they say you're an expert on. This is really fascinating. You look like a bit like a man named Frank Zappa, who I grew up with as a musician. People said that to you at all?
Of course. I met his band. I'm friends with his masseuse, Dr. Dot Stein. She's massaged like every major rock star and a few celebrities, world presidents. So,
but you're like an expert on that. I'm telling you, this is like you're like. If I shot you with some questions, they say that people have told me that you can answer almost any question of Frank Zappa. So would you mind taking a little quiz with us?
I don't mind. I don't know if I'll hit every single one. But
I don't know. All right, let's do it. Let's see what happens.
Let's see how.
If you need an ABC, let me know. Okay.
Get deep into the trenches.
I know really very little about Frank Zappa. I remember his music a little bit, but here we go. Zappa joined his first band at Mission Bay High School in San Diego as the...
Oh.
Do you need ABCD? Let me know.
You can, ABCD. It'll come.
All right. Bass guitarist, vocalist, electro guitarist, or drummer?
Drummer.
You are correct.
He was a drummer first.
Okay, here you go. In 2000...
Which is why he hired the best of the best.
There you go. In 2004, Rolling Stone magazine ranked him at number on its list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. You need A, B, C, D?
Was it 7? Was it, I remember, was it David Frick's list or was it Rolling Stone's list?
It was Rolling Stone's list.
It was Rolling Stone, not David Frick.
No.
Okay. I met David Frick a few times.
Do you need A, B, C, D?
Let's do it if that's a standard.
45, 78, this is a throwaway one, 881, 71, or 66.
If I remember seeing it correctly, it was the one in the 40s.
So we're going to say 45?
45.
You don't want to take it back yet? Okay, here we go.
No.
Oh, 71. All right.
That doesn't sound right.
This is okay, wait. Okay, it's okay. Everyone's allowed to get one wrong. It's fine. Maybe you need more than the drink. What was the name of Frank's first band?
The Mothers of Invention. Very first?
The name of the first band. We need ABCD, let me know.
ABCD.
The DeVilles, the Ramblers, the Continentals, or the Impalas?
I believe he played with the DeVilles.
The DeVilles. The Ramblers. Maybe I should delete this section. All right, one last one. You ready? What was the name of the band that Frank's name is most associated with? You want ABCD?
The Mothers of Invention.
You are correct. We'll delete those incorrect answers. Well, what year Frank Zappa was inducted? This is really good English. What year was Frank Zappa inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
1995.
You are correct.
And he was inducted by Lou Reed.
Okay, I want to just do one last question for you. Frank did not approve of what activity?
Drugs.
You are correct. Very good. So, have you just studied his life? You read books? How come you're so fascinated with Frank Zappa? Where does that whole fascination come from?
So, as a prelude to kind of a prelude to Zappa, admittedly, all my life, I've just been flooded with people telling me how many people I look like. From a young Al Pacino to Zappa to mostly Sacha Baron Cohen somehow, which I was on set with him in Newark and Patterson for the trial of the Chicago 7, and people would come up to me like, "Oh, you should play Abby. You should have played Abby. You should play Abby."
So you want to act too a little bit, right?
Jason Schwartzman. I was on the New York acting scene. I did it to do it to see the process and to see the product being made, the magic behind the lens.
Right.
But getting back to the iconography of Frank, Frank and I are both Southern Italian, Sicilian, Neapolitan with partial Greek and Arab heritage. Zappa as an American musician is just as important as the Beatles to the entirety of 20th century music as a whole. He was not. You can't put him in rock. You could not put him in jazz. You could not put him in pop. You couldn't put him in what may have been considered symphonic rock then. It was just Zappa, and his motivations weren't driven by commercial gains. It was just by the integrity and the love of music.
This is interesting you mention him because actually there's a current news article that came up, and Frank Zappa pushed the envelope in terms of language at his time. Am I correct with that assumption? I mean, he used to use a lot of...
Yeah, with how you use the medium of music to express commentary.
So,
among other things.
There was one person that recently was on the Grammy Awards, Sam Smith.
Yes.
With Pfizer. And I find so...
Pfizer? What?
Pfizer did the commercial, sponsored them. I honestly thought it was over the top that he did this whole devil thing. Because I understand, I always appreciate art and what it does. I just don't see the point, if it has no point other than just to get people annoyed. And I think that really did, one of the things with music, that people that don't like that type of music, or even the whole image of, quote, homosexuality, people who are that way may consider it with the devil stuff. I don't think it did any good for his brand. I don't think it did any good for the cause of equal rights. I just thought it was really over. I didn't watch it too because I'm a religious person. It bothered me a bit. I didn't understand that whole thing, and I don't think it adds anything to the talent. What's your opinion about that?
But I didn't even watch the Grammys. I can't dictate your reaction to something like that, depending on your own convictions. I have no interest in the impact of that broadcast or just what him or someone like Lil Nas X tries to communicate with satanic iconography. I do know that the Satanic Temple, the Satanist sect, has its instances of controversy, but you're trying. What are you exactly trying to say?
Well, I think it's great when artists go out and have us think about things or deal with things, understand how other people feel, put our feet in other people's foot, you might say, or shoes, you might say. But I don't think it's the part of Bud Rebel is two parts. One, it's to be a little bit of a rebel, do anything different, but also be a bud, not to be a jerk about it. And I thought Sam Smith was being a jerk about it. I think there's no point of just provoking just to provoke, to be obnoxious. I think the point about being an artist is you want to open up people to different points and understanding. I think when I think about Frank Zappa also, like you said before, when you listen to his music, there was more to it than just being offensive or whatever at times. There's more depth to it. I think this was just to be obnoxious and nasty, and there's a difference. And I think that's what needed to be said about it. And I think it was very interesting with Pfizer. It was very funny because a lot of people with Pfizer, with the whole forcing the vaccine, that people felt it was forced, that they're like almost like an evil company, a big evil company, and then they were connected to a video that had about satanic worship. It was a very bad timing for them as a business company, and that's another thing that I saw that was very interesting.
Well, I mean, this is kind of the uselessness of comparing decades. Look at where we are as far as secularism and keeping a fair separation of church and state now. Like, our protection as a fair society versus the 70s and 80s, even including the 60s when shit was starting to hit the fan, but a line was also starting to be drawn. It's all on who has the position of power and what you're trying to say with that, whether or not you're shooting up or down. I think if I look at Sam's video, it's probably going to be what Miley Cyrus was doing when she was shaking her ass at that other award show. But I don't care. I don't want to shame him. He didn't really do anything wrong in my eyes. I'm not the type of person, again, that believes in anybody being canceled or whatever. I just found it offensive. I wanted to ask you, we always also have a discussion usually about leadership because, as you know, 2024 election is coming up. Mm-hmm.
One of the things I thought about for the next person that runs for president, whoever it is that person is one of us. And when I mean one of us, I mean basically they go and they deal with traffic. They have to deal with their family lives aren't perfect.
They've done the work on the ground.
They know what people are like in the real world. Maybe they take care of their dogs for a walk. Whatever.
What's the real world?
What's
the fake world?
I don't know. I would say fake world, but I think they've dealt with a lot of the issues that many people dealt with. You don't want. I mean, I think it's important that people have somebody that's dealt with, let's say, people that have had mental health issues or dealt with issues. Maybe they know people have drug problems, so they dealt with issues that a lot of Americans, running for office, people have to deal with. And so they don't. It's not so distant from them, So I think that's important. I think that a leader understands by being through some of those difficult moments that other people have to go through. I mean, a lot of times. So that's why this is my opinion. But what is your opinion about someone who needs to be the leader? What characteristics would you say that's important?
People who are leaders, and just my eyes are. This is like to set a standard for your listeners.
Well, I'm just asking you personally. When you look for, and I'm not issues. When you're looking for somebody who's going to be a leader, or the next president, whatever it is. What would you say is an important characteristic for that person to be a leader in this country?
Number one, they're looking upward. Number two, they have their eggs in all baskets of their life. They have strong foundations, a strong family life. Maybe not a strong family life, but they have strong principles and the self-discipline required to work with people. And to work with like-minded, self-disciplined people.
That's good.
That may be a simplified way of saying it because everyone's situation is different. But as long as everyone's looking upward toward actually making substantive change,
right?
Then yes, you're fine.
Now, also on our show, we also feature a area where we talk about investments, and when people
like securities.
Well, investments can come in different ways, but in today's discussion, what we're going to have today is investments basically around you. When I mean around you, I mean your family, your friends, your close associates. Sometimes you don't listen to people that really have the best advice. For example, my wife has diabetes, and she switched from. She's like, that's thank you, but she switched from one device that she uses to another device, and by doing so it's actually trending the different companies. One was called Medtronics and the other one's called Omnipod. So
trending as if what?
Trending that the companies that do it, because there's a trend, people are changing, they're doing things in that direction, they're switching from one company to the other company. So if everybody that is starting to drink vitamin water, your friends are all drinking vitamin water, they all start drinking this drink. Maybe it's a company to look into investing-wise. Instead of always looking at analysis, sometimes you see the trends that are occurring right around you, because what's happening around you might even happening other places as well. And the funny thing about it is most of those trends happen with young people. They gear to things rather than, there are other ways too. But what's happening around you is ways that you should invest in terms of stocks, in terms of even, I guess, as we see the climate around us, it's a good way to know what to invest in instead of just always looking at analysis opinion.
Oh yeah, when the months before the pandemic started, I loaded up on healthcare, on biotechs.
Wow, how did you decide on that? What was your thought on that?
One small cap, everything tanked in March, and then a lot of the biotechs, when they were doing major vaccine research developments, they all just went back up.
Going back to your career a bit, I wanted to know if you can give anybody advice if they want to get into this business, a little bit more detail, how it starts, what's it like your day, is it something that takes a long time to make enough to financially be successful, a little bit more data if you don't mind.
Right, getting into this business now in 2023.
Yeah, or when you started, the difference, if you started a lot bit earlier than that, but the difference is when you started it, it's, I guess one of the most important things is you've got to keep up with the technology. Things change very quickly, and you have to keep up to the new things that people are doing and the new post-production stuff. Is that correct with everything?
That's correct. A lot of processes become automated.
And a lot of the work that you did took a long time become those things become changed or stopped, and then other things move up the ladder. So you always got to keep up with the new trends and
Yes,
stuff.
the thing you have to realize is that all of our legacy creative fields of film, television, music, video games, podcasts, virtual reality, new media, it's all converging. It's all converging. The Web3 space is trying to find a way to make that work, and right now that is through metaverse platforms bringing office meetings to virtual spaces, and that's going to bank on designers who know how to set design environments properly and have the human eye required. That's the other thing. I did bring my laptop if the one took me, but artists who are scared about AI art right now, maybe let me hone in on concept artists. Don't be afraid, because the pipeline doesn't need to be fixed. AI art renders are just that. They are renders. There's no preliminary lines for if you drew like a scene of a castle, let's say. That was a multi-step, multi-layered process in either Photoshop or Painter or whatever software you used. AI art renders are only going to serve as a basis point for directors and clients to look at, to then hand off to the concept artists. The concept artists are not going to be replaced. And then for people just using the technology itself, it's just that. Like if there's commercialism behind it, great.
Well, I'm sorry. You just mentioned something called I think you mentioned AI, for the people out there, artificial intelligence.
AI art generators, Stability, Midjourney, and OpenAI.
I'm thinking about also AI. I thought AI is more of artificial intelligence. I don't know if it's having more of an effect on post-production as well. Is that happening also?
In the compositing world, the program is Nuke. There's a node. There's like a feature called Copycat, which just automatically takes parts of a shot and then places it somewhere else automatically instead of you doing it manually. But that's besides the point. What I'm saying is the human eye will... All these technologies are just going to augment the capability of the human eye, which has been here has been in the art world, has led the art world and the digital art world for a long time now.
Interesting.
And it's like I said, it's a process that doesn't need to be fixed and won't be disrupted as bad as people think it will.
So you see a bright future, and you're working on.
Look, what people define as success in the film and TV in these spaces, like the industries of motion pictures and television, it's about that you're putting something out into the general public. And now that general public has more options. I mean, I remember the advent of YouTube coming in 2005. It changed the entire model of creator and consumer. People like Fred or Shane Dawson or JonTron, or most notably Filthy Frank and iDubbbz in the 2010s. I'm sorry for these name drops, but people will know who I'm talking about. My point is that what you had in a formal system, like the bidders, the producers, the directors, the animation consultants, the sound engineers, the music. Fast forward to today and to the pandemic standard, it's the content creators take on all of that at, yes, a smaller scale, but everyone's learning that you have to upskill. You have to take on these legacy foundational skills. That's what separates people is people who have foundation, who have the talent in their human eye and ear, people who have perfect pitch, people who know color theory,
right,
and so on. But my point is that this is a market of ideas, and it's a market of either ideas or personalities. YouTube was both. TikTok is that, but it's coming from what I feel is a foreign adversary.
So my question for you also as an artist, what are some films that you are amazed in terms of the post-production editing that people should, if they really love to learn about and see something that's visually incredible, what would you suggest that people look at? Or series or whatever?
There are many great examples of respectable projects that had what I feel is real human value. One of those, a contemporary example is Jon Favreau's take on The Jungle Book. You have all these remakes in the last 10 years. Just The Jungle Book, I feel it was needed. it brought the story and the narrative to a dimension it needed. The character technical direction worked just fine with the actor for Mowgli. It was a great time.
So the Jungle Book.
It was great seeing it in this theater. My friend almost got stabbed by a plastic knife over a hot dog, but
wow,
it was just
another story of violence. Your life is like unbelievable. Got to go all over the place. But so the Jungle Book is one of those movies that you said if you're looking at something that's like post production, amazingly done, you'd say that's the movie that you would.
Yes, because it augmented the story. Avatar was, industry standard visual effects and animation. It's just like the people who watched it, it was just the story, and that was kind of lacking in original.
Right. So I mean,
same thing happened with Inception. Same exact thing happened with Inception.
So if you're looking at it from just the artistic view of a post production, you would say Avatar is amazing, but in terms of the writing, it may not need improvement or whatever. But when you're watching visually as an artist, as you are, you'd say Avatar is amazing. Am I correct with saying that?
Yeah, you look at the film in its full scope. Films are stories.
Right.
Films inspire people. Films change people's direction. It can save them from something.
Oh, that's interesting. So I have some interesting weird facts. I like to add that to my podcast.
Please do.
So
we like weird.
That's good.
The good kind of weird.
The idea of a hat on a bed I saw my show Yellowstone, which is a very big show. It's a superstition. You're not supposed to say it's very bad luck. And it comes from the idea of lice. I think they said that people when they were out in the West, they said, but even to this day, a cowboy will never put their hat on a bed. Another interesting fact, and we'll give you one more for today. Avocados. Avocados are not a vegetable; they are a fruit.
I know.
Oh, Dave, you're very smart, but most people, my viewers, now know too.
I eat them every day for breakfast with eggs.
So, who inspires you to do what you did? Any person in your life?
As artists, as disciplinarians, the list ranges from, obviously Zappa, just in a whole, both an artist and a disciplinarian. The chef, Marco Pierre White, the comic, Bill Plimpton, who I actually met, the painter, Frank Frazetta, Peter Gabriel, my biggest creative influence as a human being.
Where will we see you in the future, Richie? In 5 years from now, what do we see you doing? If you could be anywhere you want, do anything you want, what would be happening 5 years from now?
So, people in my position are navigating a rapidly maturing landscape. The Unreal Engine is going to become of the post-production world. The Unreal Engine is going to become the industry tool that encompasses all different crafts. So, digitally speaking,
I mean, are we going to
because it achieves a lot, than before.
Right, but I'm saying in terms of your career, will we see you as if you had a dream, would you be like an Oscar-winning film? What is your goal to say like 5 years from now in terms of being as an artist?
I've been working towards the role of overarching wise as creative director. There's agencies, there's freelancers, it's a battle between company and the independent contractor now more than ever before. So I'm just gonna keep expanding, keep branding myself digitally in the entire creative landscape.
And where do you recommend people go if they want to learn more about this whole post-production field? What is certain videos, certain way the classes they should take, anywhere they should know more about it? What's the best way to find out?
Read books like The Art of Digital Compositing that's from the 2000s, but just keep watching YouTube, keep following trends, keep watching the news, keep seeing active projects, make it part of your morning routine to go on ArtStation, to look at your For You page on Instagram. There's more content being produced than ever before. It's not just limited to cable television. It's not just limited to music television. It's all rapidly maturing.
If somebody wanted
into
to,
something new that we don't quite know what it is yet.
if someone needed like a I don't know, a tutor or a mentor, would you offer that service to somebody if they wanted the help to get started in this? Is that something you would consider?
If they're aiming to be a generalist, then yes, because I personally do not feel that pursuing what I say to myself and to others who if the conversation leads that way, the skills of yesterday are becoming sub skills of today. So the more you can perform in a shorter span of time and well, the better equipped you are. And it's just about people finding out what you can do.
And if people want to reach out to you and they want your help with either a production or they just want your advice on something, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Formally, I prefer email, richiebeans@hotmail.com.
Can you say it a little slower?
richiebeans@hotmail.com.
Okay, and that's the best way to reach you. Do you have like any Instagram or any other things they can reach you out?
Yes, Richiebeans is my online name, and that's the name of my Wix site as well.
Okay, great. Richie, thank you for joining us. Before I go, I always like to end with a note. I had a discussion with an individual recently that I said, I'm not really afraid of dying. What I'm afraid of is not living. And what I mean by that is life is really short. And the idea is that every day you try to do something that's fun, that's productive, that makes you laugh. If we do that in our lives, then we lived. And that's more important every day than worrying about when you're going to die. So I really want you to leave with that message. Try to live your life. Not worry about all these other things. And try to enjoy your life. Try to get out there, have some fun, be productive, and make a difference. Thank you so much for joining me. God bless, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, everybody.